I would say to LeBron James, do you not know who these NBA players are? Do you not know who your contemporaries are? Do you not know how great the NBA players are, the greatest players in the world? And your son is being exposed. Bronny James, I hope he's an NBA player someday. I'm rooting for him. I'm cheering for him all day, every day. But he's not ready yet. Opening night is one thing. Continuing him in NBA games is another. It shouldn't have been 2 games he played in, let alone 13. Come on. Right. Pop's got to step in and yo, I can't expose my son to this just yet. This ain't right. Respectfully, it's not right.
The entire world told Bronny James he did not belong in the NBA. Experts, team bosses, and basketball legends all said the same thing. One former player even told him to grab a golf club and quit basketball for good. But through it all, LeBron James just watched. He waited. And then, he did something nobody saw coming. Here is the real story. But first, what do you think? Did Bronny really earn his spot? Or is LeBron pulling all the strings? Let me know down in the comments. Let's start with a golf swing that broke the internet. This is where the story gets super weird before taking a massive twist. Time is late May 2026. The basketball season is over. The Lakers are totally done. And the biggest viral video of a Laker is not a crazy dunk or a game-winning shot. Nope. It is Bronny James at a driving range. He is swinging a golf club like a total pro. His swing is smooth. His form is perfect. It is the kind of swing that makes regular players super jealous. And the crazy part? People said Bronny had been playing golf for less than a year. The video went everywhere. Right on cue, former NBA player Brandon Jennings chimes in. Jennings is the guy who skipped college to play in Italy before making the NBA. He shared the video with his millions of followers on May 21st. His message was short and clear. It's time, Bronny. That swing is insane. Go pro. On the surface, it looks like a joke. Just a funny tweet. But it blew up for a totally different reason. Jennings was not really talking about golf. He was hitting a very sore spot. The whole basketball world had been poking at this exact same spot for 2 straight years. Telling Bronny to go pro in golf was just a polite way to say what everyone was already screaming. Bronny does not belong on an NBA court. Period. To understand why a simple golf clip caused such a storm, we have to look back. We have to look at the massive wave of hate that built this pressure in the first place. Let's start at the bottom. Some parts of the sports media were incredibly harsh. On one TV show, an expert looked at Bronny's stats and said something brutal. He is not an NBA player. The hosts piled on the bad stats. They pointed out that Bronny ranked almost dead last among everyone in the entire league. They called his numbers a total joke. They said it was shocking. Basically, they claimed he was hurting his team and losing them a point for every single minute he played.
In the NBA, you have to pretend that Bronny's an NBA player, because otherwise you'll upset the king. And remember, he is a 6'2" guard that's a non-point guard. I've never seen that existing in the current NBA. And go back 20 years. He is 1 for 16 in the NBA from the floor, 0 for 7 on threes. He's not an NBA player. He was not a great high school player. He was a good high school player.
They didn't hold back. They pointed out the blunt truth. He wasn't even a good player back in college.
He wasn't a good college player. He was a college player. And he's not an NBA player. And he may be a great kid. I'm sure he is. LeBron's a nice guy. I've met him. Can we stop pretending on this? Tyrese Maxey's a great player and cooked him. And you rushed him up because, hey, he had a good G League game. Oh,
brutal.
But here's the thing. The doubt didn't just start in the pros. It began before Bronny even wore the Lakers' purple and gold. Back in the summer of 2023, something terrifying happened. Bronny collapsed during a workout at USC. He went into cardiac arrest. When the news broke, even his loudest critics went silent. For a moment, everyone remembered there was a real person behind that famous last name. On ESPN's First Take, the reaction was super real. One host admitted, I was scared to death when I heard the news. Thankfully, Bronny recovered. He was cleared to play again. But that huge scare became a quiet shadow over everything that happened next. He returned to USC and played one shortened college season. He averaged about 4.5 points a game on a team that didn't even make the big tournament. For almost any other young player, that would be the end of their draft dreams. But Bronny isn't most players. In June 2024, with the 55th pick in the NBA draft, the Los Angeles Lakers selected Bronny James. And the basketball world completely lost its mind. It wasn't just because taking a chance on a second-round pick is weird. That happens all the time. It was because of the money. He got a 4-year deal worth almost $7.9 million for a 55th pick. On the Carton Show, the hosts read those numbers out loud and simply couldn't believe it. It was the kind of guaranteed money that other players picked in that spot, players without a famous dad, never ever see. That massive contract set the stage for everything else. Suddenly, it wasn't just about whether Bronny was good enough to play. It was about why he was getting treated so differently. The whispers about nepotism, getting favors because of his dad, turned into screams, became the only story anyone talked about. ESPN put out a huge article where unnamed NBA bosses and scouts completely ripped the idea apart. On one show, a host read the quotes out loud and they hit hard. Analytically, if you just had the numbers on a page and had no name attached to it, the analyst read, leading to a brutal punchline, he doesn't project in any way, shape, or form to be an NBA player. These experts told ESPN that Bronny should have stayed in college. They called the whole situation crazy and said expectations were totally out of touch with reality. And it wasn't just people hiding their names. Veteran radio host Craig Carton went on the air and admitted he had been calling Bronny something incredibly harsh, a make-a-wish kid in the NBA. That shows you exactly how heated things were getting. To be fair, Carton argued the Lakers should send Bronny down to the G League to develop against players at his own level. He wasn't just trying to be mean. But that make-a-wish comment went super viral. It showed how comfortable people felt mocking a 20-year-old on live TV. The debate got so loud that it started dragging other players into the mess. On First Take, they started comparing Bronny's situation to other famous kids. They argued that players like Carmelo Anthony's son had to actually prove themselves to get hype. Bronny's path, they said, was basically handed to him. Even the calmer voices kept landing on the same awkward thought. Kendrick Perkins, a former champion who loves the James family, admitted he hated talking about Bronny. Why? 'Cause he felt LeBron had put his own son in a terrible spot. Then the comedy podcasts jumped in. One host compared Bronny getting a roster spot to Mac McClung, a guy famous mostly for dunk contests. They used Bronny as proof that having the right connections was secretly running the NBA. And the hate went way beyond basketball. When pictures of Bronny at his high school prom came out, the comments were so awful that Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe had to step in. "It is so utterly ridiculous," Sharpe said. "I read the comments. People need to get a life. Think about that. A legendary player having to publicly defend a kid from getting bullied over prom pictures? That tells you exactly what kind of toxic environment Bronny was dealing with." Then there was the Jaylen Brown incident. The 2024 Summer League, before Bronny had even played a real NBA minute, a camera caught Brown talking courtside. There was no sound. But lip readers went crazy online. The internet decided Brown had mouthed that he didn't think Bronny was a real pro. Clip blew up everywhere. The very next day, Brown went online to try and fix it. He posted that having your son in the NBA shows greatness and that Bronny had everything he needed to succeed. It was a fast pivot. Most people thought he was being genuine, but the damage was done. An all-star getting caught doubting Bronny just added more fuel to the fire. So, when Brandon Jennings tweeted "Go Pro" over that golf video in May 2026, he wasn't starting a fire. He was throwing gas on a blaze that had been burning for 2 long years. Now let's talk about the guy who turned doubting Bronny into a full-blown TV crusade, Stephen A. Smith. In late January 2025, on the biggest sports debate show on TV, Stephen A. stopped being just a critic. He got dead serious. The Lakers had just lost to Philadelphia. Bronny had played actual minutes in the first quarter and looked terrible. Stephen A. didn't yell. Instead, he got very quiet. "I am pleading with LeBron James as a father," he said. He let that sink in. Then he added, "Stop this. Stop this. We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad." He put Bronny's awful stats right on the screen: 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds a game. Over 13 games, Bronny had scored exactly 4 points total. He was shooting terribly. Stephen A. claimed he was saying this out of kindness. He said he actually wanted Bronny to succeed. He even compared it to a famous boxing match where a dad let his unprepared son get destroyed in the ring by a champion. Basically, he was saying LeBron was a loving dad who was making a massive mistake and putting his son in danger. Stephen A. wasn't the only one saying this. Over on TNT, Charles Barkley made a similar point, but he left out all the dramatic fatherhood stuff. Barkley said, "That kid, I wish him nothing but the best. He should be in the G League getting better as a player." Barkley's take was super reasonable. But Barkley also drew a massive line in the sand. He said you can criticize how Bronny plays basketball all day long, but the second Stephen A. started telling LeBron how to be a father, that was crossing a serious line. "If you start talking about LeBron as a father, that's different," Barkley warned. He was totally right. That was the tipping point. On March 6, 2025, during a Lakers game in LA, LeBron James walked straight over to Stephen A. Smith during a timeout. He didn't wait for a press conference. He didn't tweet about it. He got right in his face. According to Smith, LeBron looked him in the eye and told him to stop messing with his son. Cameras caught the whole thing and it exploded online instantly. Stephen A. felt like he was set up. He thought the camera angle was way too perfect. He declared his relationship with LeBron was completely over. Later, LeBron went on the Pat McAfee show and said Stephen A. was completely missing the point. LeBron said he didn't care about basketball criticism. He cared about personal attacks on his family. What happened next was a crazy media war. Stephen A. fired back constantly. He called LeBron weak, called him a liar, and even claimed he would have thrown a punch if LeBron had touched him. LeBron just made fun of him online with a goofy video. Stephen A. himself called the whole thing a tragic soap opera. But underneath all that drama, there was a real question nobody wanted to answer. Was any of this really about Bronny? Former player Channing Crowder totally agreed with Stephen A. He flat out said Bronny wasn't an NBA player and was only there because of his dad. But his co-host Ryan Clark saw it differently. Clark pointed out that LeBron was being a bit of a hypocrite, but also noted that Bronny was actually playing well in the G League and wasn't getting any credit for it. Fans were totally divided. Some thought LeBron was acting like a bully, others thought he was just being a protective dad. The TNT guys even joked they were too scared to say anything bad in case LeBron came after them next. Over a year later, Stephen A. was still complaining about it on Logan Paul's podcast. But here is the wild part that all the haters totally missed. The harshest tough love didn't come from a guy on TV. It came from Bronny's own coach. On November 15, 2025, during a terrible game against the Milwaukee Bucks, Luka Doncic kept passing the ball to Bronny, who was wide open. And Bronny kept refusing to shoot. Coach J.J. Redick, who happened to be wearing a microphone, completely lost it. He screamed at Bronny to shoot the ball. The video got millions of views. Proved one thing for sure. Redick wasn't going to go easy on LeBron's kid. Craig Carton watched it and said it showed how messed up the situation was. And Redick's yelling at him, "Shoot the effing ball, Bronny." Carton argued it was totally wrong to play Bronny before he was ready, saying the kid looked terrified. But Bronny didn't crumble. He learned from it. A week later, after a stint in the G League, Bronny talked about that exact moment. He explained a new mindset he was using: catch the ball and in half a second decide to shoot, pass, or drive. He didn't see Redick yelling as embarrassing. He saw it as exactly the kind of push he needed. That was the quiet moment everything changed. While everyone else was arguing if he belonged in the league, Bronny was just putting in work in the gym. Then, in March 2025, Stephen A. Smith did something almost unheard of on TV. After Bronny scored a career high, Stephen A. looked at the camera and said, "I might have been wrong. Are you listening, LeBron James?" It wasn't a total apology, but it was a crack. And what happened next is why this story is so amazing. One longtime analyst, who had spent months saying Bronny had zero drive, finally went on his show and admitted he was totally wrong. He said he was shocked by Bronny's sudden improvement in the G League. He highlighted the game that proved it. Bronny went off for 39 points. He hit 8 three-pointers, shot 14 for 21 overall, and grabbed 7 rebounds. It was a massive performance that forced even the biggest haters to rethink everything. By his second year, Bronny was putting up real numbers in the G League, around 15.6 points, 3.6 assists, and 3.1 rebounds a game. He was shooting over 56% overall and over 45% from deep. His three-point shooting in the NBA jumped to almost 39%. The small kid who used to be scared to shoot had become a legit threat. And Coach Redick, the guy who screamed at him to shoot, he completely changed his tune. As the Lakers pushed toward the 2026 playoffs with an injured roster, Redick was asked about Bronny. His answer? "I think Bronny's improved a lot. I think we trust him." The entire world told this kid to give up. Brandon Jennings told him to go play golf. Unnamed bosses said he would never make it. Stephen A. begged LeBron to bench him. And what did LeBron do? Exactly what you'd expect. He didn't pull him out. He doubled down. He kept playing into his 40s just to share the court with his son. He bet his massive legacy that Bronny would figure it out. And that bet started paying off big time. Nobody gave Bronny James a chance. Not the TV experts, not the team bosses, and definitely not the guy selling golf gloves. But here we are. If you think this is wild, just wait until you see what the Lakers do next. Let me know what you think in the comments, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next video.